Yeah, the red zone, I got to do a better job there. I think, obviously, I'm going to spend a lot of the back end of this week really digging into that, and that's as our game plan sequence works. Red zone will fall into the back end of this week, and so I think a lot of it, we're putting ourselves in unfavorable situations because we're not good enough, and as far as executing and sequencing plays on first and second down, we're falling ourselves into two poor third downs, and so I think a lot of times, if you're 3rd and 10 from the 10, you guys can go look up those stats. They're not very good. You're not going to convert a whole lot. And so what we do on first and second down has to be better. I got to sequence them better and put ourselves in better situations.
Penalties have hurt as well. Last week you had 1st and goal from the 7. Torricelli Simpkins false start. All of a sudden you're at the 12 and you end up getting behind the sticks and you end up kicking a field goal. So Kellen Moore talking about the Saints in the red zone where they got to be better. And there's a lot of ways that they have to be and can be better, and they'll need to be better in order to beat New England in the Dome on Sunday. It's interesting with the Saints and the Patriots because coming into this season, the way we sort of looked at it, where it was going to be really hard for the Saints to win any of the first 4 games, but the opportunity was going to come with those back-to-back home games against the Giants and the Patriots, 2 teams with we didn't know if Dart would be starting at the time, but you figured potentially young quarterbacks, teams that were entering the season right around where New Orleans was as far as your projected win-loss totals. And getting those games at home felt like good opportunities. The Saints did, in fact, beat the Giants. But you look at New England, and very similar teams coming into this season with, they failed to win more than 5 games a year ago, and young quarterbacks, first-year head coaches with their team. Vrabel, of course, was a successful head coach at Tennessee. But they've obviously, through the first month of this NFL season, operated at sort of different speeds. The Saints started 0-4, tripping over themselves in their first couple of games at home. They were embarrassed at Seattle. We all kind of gave them a back pat for a moral victory for a, air quotes, close loss at Buffalo, which gives you context on these Saints. You gave up 31 points and lost by 12, and we're talking about a close loss. And context matters, I understand, but you come home and you beat the Giants, you're 1-4. The flip side of it is New England's sitting here at 3-2, and they went to Buffalo and beat soundly that Buffalo team we're just talking about that beat the Saints soundly. Now, the transitive property doesn't work in sports. You can't say, well, the common opponent thing where, the Saints or Buffalo beat the Saints and New England beat Buffalo, therefore. But you can deduce certain things about how teams are progressing, and the reality is, whereas Spencer Rattler has avoided big mistakes, 6 touchdowns, just 1 interception through 5 games, Drake Maye has been explosive. He's been a reason that New England has won games instead of just not being the reason that they're losing, like is the case with Spencer Rattler in New Orleans. Maye's thrown for over 1,200 yards already, 7 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's been effective and efficient. He's completing more than 70% of his passes so far this year. So it's an interesting test case for New Orleans to compare yourself to New England, because you entered this season on paper very similarly, and New England very clearly has surpassed where you are through 5 games. This is a game on Sunday that'll be very interested to see how Spencer Rattler does throwing the football, in particular if Christian Gonzalez is limited or unavailable. The New England Patriots are very likely going to be shorthanded in the secondary. We mentioned Christian Gonzalez already being limited. We'll see what that means there. Keon White's going to be out, defensive end. Their safety, Jalen Hawkins, has already been ruled out with a hamstring injury. So you'll have a limited New England defense coming in, but you have a New Orleans Saints offense that just quite honestly has not been very good this year. This is just an objective fact. You're 14th in the NFL in rushing offense, and you're 25th in passing offense. When it comes to scoring, actually affecting the scoreboard, you're 28th out of 32 teams, averaging 18 points a game. 18 isn't going to be enough to beat New England Sunday in the Dome. So you're going to have to find a way to generate more offense than you've been able to do so far throughout the course of this season. I'll be interested to see about Alvin Kamara, his availability. Maybe we see more of Kendre Miller. And on the flip side of it, the New Orleans Saints defense, hasn't been very good. You're 24th in the NFL in scoring defense with allowing 27 points a game, and you came up with the big day turning over the Giants on 5 consecutive possessions. But in a game where you forced 5 consecutive turnovers, you won that game 26-14. So it was hardly a runaway and hide situation. And you still got a real issue on your hands with Blake Grupe. And this isn't just throwing dirt on him. It's the fact that he's missed 5 kicks in 5 games. And he's 10 out of 15 on the season. That's 66%. That doesn't play in the NFL. When you have scoring opportunities, you have to convert scoring opportunities. And as we talked about with Kellen Moore there at the start of this segment with being better in the red zone, so too hand in hand does that go Blake Grupe converting on kicks when you have the opportunity to impact and affect the scoreboard. I am going to be very interested in one matchup in particular with the Saints defense and the Patriots offense, and that's the return of Chase Young. Because the Saints defense, especially in the secondary, at corner, I do not believe is outstanding. And Kool-Aid McKinstry, despite the 2 interceptions last week, I thought struggled. He had a bad PI. He got big boyed on the touchdown by the Giants tight end. The 2 interceptions he got, one was effectively a punt, and the other was a ball that was nowhere near the receiver. It was a bad throw by Jackson Dart. So we've seen Kool-Aid McKinstry struggle at times this year. Now you're going to have to go up against Stephon Diggs. I mean, if you fancy yourself as a number 1 cornerback in the NFL, every week you're drawing the assignment of facing the opponent's number 1 receiver, and most teams in the NFL have a number 1 receiver. And so, we're going to have to see how Kool-Aid McKinstry continues to develop in that role, because when you look at the PFF grades defensively, the overall grades, Kool-Aid McKinstry is down near the bottom. His overall grade so far in the season through 5 games is a 59. His tackling grade's a 47. His coverage grade is sitting there at a 61. So you would love to see Kool-Aid McKinstry play better, and here's a good opportunity to see if he can do it. But the way that you can assist your secondary is with a pass rush. So, I mean, what's a great way to play sort of symbiotic defense is a pass rush to affect the quarterback can help your secondary. So Chase Young coming back against rookie left tackle Will Campbell is a matchup to watch to see if Chase Young, who was one of the tops in the NFL a year ago in pressures, not in sacks, but in pressures, can help affect Drake Maye, move him off his spot, maybe force some errant throws. And then, of course, New England is going to be, in a situation with their running game with Antonio Gibson unavailable with the knee injury. Who's the next man up for New England running the football? I think when I look at this game, New England has the better coach in Mike Vrabel. I don't even know that that's debatable. And they have the quarterback that has made more explosive, dynamic, winning plays. And I have real questions about the Saints defense. I have questions about Blake Grupe. It was so nice to see the Saints get a win last week, and I've kind of been on it with this team. I picked them to lose each of the first 4 weeks they did. I picked them to beat the Giants last week. Actually, almost nailed the score. I picked it 26-14 or 26-16, and ended up 26-14. I was right on it. And I think the Saints come up short in this one again. I just don't know that they're in a position yet as an organization and as a team to make enough winning plays to beat good teams. And I think New England has proven with their win in Buffalo, they are a good football team that is far ahead in their rebuild than New Orleans is. I think it's a close game in the Dome, but I am going to pick the Patriots. I think New England wins a close one at 26-23 is the final that I've nabbed. So give me New England to beat the Saints in the Dome 26-23.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.